Inside the Hillcrest 55 and over community. Officials say a neighbor saw the fire at the house next door. That person alerts the homeowner and also gets him out of the burning building. Several fire teams are dispatched and put the flames out soon after. State and local fire officials are investigating. No injuries reported. A 400-foot barge built to help deliver Columbia-class ballistic missile submarines arrives at Electric Boat. The new ocean transport barge Holland, built by Bollinger Shipyards of Lockport, Louisiana, was named after John Holland, the Irish-born immigrant who designed the first submarine in the world. The Columbia-class is being built at EB's Quonset Point facility. Mohegan Gaming and Entertainment, the corporation that owns the Mohegan Tribe's various gambling enterprises, announces it has completed the $1.5 billion in financing needed to develop the first stage of a casino and entertainment resort in South Korea, about 25 miles from Seoul, targeted to open in 2023. It's expected to include more than 1,200 guest rooms in 3 hotel towers, a 15,000-seat arena, and other amenities.
The managing director of Paragon Trust Company and tax and private client practitioner joins us to bring a common sense approach to money in a world of total insanity. Let's welcome Tony D'Angelo.
All right, here in person in the studio. Again, we always appreciate Tony making that trip down here to talk to us here bright and early. Tony, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Lee Elsie. Good morning, everybody. Proud to be among you.
All right, so just so folks know a little inside baseball, then I'm going to turn you loose. So normally you send me a list of things you might want to talk about. We go over that stuff and kind of play some music at the end. It's all choreographed perfectly, neat and tidy little bow. But last night you ran into a different story and you had to call it audible, right?
Yeah, it's a Ralph Cramton wait a minute moment, and it just goes to show you that you can play until you're blue in the face. It's not lost. We have something next week on Semaphore. I will say it the way most people want to say it. That's beyond anything that we've seen previously. But tune in next week for that, kids. But the last night, I'm in the barn. I'm working. We have work going on at the house. It's absolutely bonkers. And I've got the fire on. And I'm listening to a radio broadcast about Semaphore and things happening, and the host of this particular radio broadcast kind of shared my incredulity as to, this is larceny, what's happening? And they were, in this broadcast, which was a good broadcast, they were focused on this one issue, and I walked in the house and I was scratching my head saying, do they really think it's one thing? Do they really think it's just one little kind of indiscretion or little venial sin? And then I started to, kind of my usual thing, came in, settled, turned the computer on. Kathy made dinner. It was wonderful. And someone had sent me something about a corporation known as Digital Currency Group. And it was a big thing in Stamford yesterday. You had the incoming mayor, you had the governor, you had the commissioner of economic development, you had Congressman Himes, you had this whole thing. Jobs are coming to Stamford. It is another one of these kind of bookie, shady DECD loans. If you meet certain targets, it'll be okay. And you know where I sit on all that stuff. And finally, I said, they can't be this stupid. They can't be this stupid. And I said, do I really want to look at it? There's a wonderful gizmo. I recommend it to everybody. It's called the Wayback Machine on Internet Archive. And support Internet Archive. It's believe me, it's a repository of wonderful things. And I started to walk back on this thing. And what I found out was that Digital Currency Group, of which is receiving state money, is an Oak HCFT entity. And I've got the card, and I've got the slide. Right. And on or about maybe, I don't know, probably about May or so of this year, it kind of disappeared. And that's like, well, if we're going to get into the mind of what they usually do, again, people, it is not just one bid, no bid contract. It is far beyond that. It is pervasive. But if we're going to get in our minds, of course, it would be like, today the governor's walking to his mansion. And it's like, well, it's profits to charity, or it's, it's an indiscretion. But it's like, hey, wait a minute. I have 3 documents one is from Bitcoin News, another is from Crunchbase, another is from Traxon, saying that the Oak investment in this thing is somewhere between $700 million and $1 billion. Now, we're going to be real honest people, folks. We're going to, everybody, we're going to pay all off. We're going to take this little paltry, loan from the state, for whatever in the heck we're going to. It strains credulity. So it's like, I don't know. I say this. How many times do I say this on this show, Leosi? I don't know whether to laugh, cry, scream, or throw up. It is not just one thing. It is not, it's almost like if I can pick this off inside of 2 minutes, and it's like they're just blatantly doing it and everybody's there cheering.
So back up. Sorry.
Yes,
so back up and tell everybody one more time, because again, folks may be just joining us in midstream and sort of are trying to follow you. Semaphore, Oak HC, all connected to Governor Lamont.
Yes.
Tie that together one more time real quick.
Okay. Oak HCFT is a venture capital firm of which Anne Lamont, the governor's wife, is an equity partner. They solicit bids for startup companies that they try to take public. This particular one, Digital Currency Group, is something which they have had in their stable. They have been soliciting money for.
Right.
And it gives every appearance, it can't be anything else, because every appearance of using state tax dollars to prop it up until, maybe, the Queen Mary comes along and picks it up. But the galling thing, small businesses were closed because of Governor Lamont's policies.
Right.
Economies were ruined. And he's trumpeting this, but yet, and there's nothing to see here, folks. I mean, come on.
So this is one of, obviously you just said this is one of many that are out there. Certainly you've uncovered a couple, but this is the latest. As the gentleman yesterday said on the different program, it does sound like it's larceny. It sounds as though it's almost to it's fraud, if you will. I mean, he's defrauding my tax dollars shouldn't be going to prop up a company that his wife owns. Period.
Well, and he's been so cavalier about it, saying, "Oh, it's government money. Oh, it's this, or that's not really our money." It's like we all pay for this,
right?
And the fact of the matter is, now when it comes to this whole DEC, if you keep the jobs, we're going to forgive the loan. Is this another core informatics deal where it's like, hey, you didn't really have it, but that's okay. We're going to forgive it. I mean, it's like, we have 2 economies here, one which is largely supported by state dollars and whatever the case may be. But I mean, to have this thing in your stable and not to disclose it and not to say, hey, wait a minute, we had this position, we don't anymore. But again, it's after the fact. I mean, who is this guy kidding?
We have a few minutes here with Tony D, and we don't always get extra time. If you want to call in 860-464-9490, maybe you're following the bouncing ball at home, and maybe you're having trouble putting some of this stuff together. This is a great opportunity for you to call and ask him directly, because I do get a lot of emails saying, what did he mean by this, or what did he mean by that? This is your opportunity to do that. All right, so without being the case, what can the public do, if anything? Are we just suckers here?
I think it's just, total and complete outrage at this point.
Right.
Why should this man profit? And, basically what they're doing is they're using the state as a piggy bank.
Right.
I think that, which I think, brings to mind another backdrop, which is when it comes to policy, when it comes to representation, when it comes to giving this man the respect of a truthful statement, you have to question every single thing he's doing.
You do now, yeah.
Yeah, and it just bothers me when people give him credibility. Credible people don't do stuff like this.
So, and that's another. I was having a great conversation the other day with someone who I don't want to say who it is, but certainly a newsmaker / influencer. And my question to that person was, okay, you get to a point in your life, and you've made money. You're older, right? So the idea of how many yachts can I ski behind? when you're a younger person and you're trying to accumulate wealth, and it can become a game, and who's winning, who's losing. I just feel like maybe it's just inside of me, it's different. I would think if you got to a certain age, and Ned is that age, how many yachts do you need to ski behind?
I don't think it's in as much yachts as it is personal aplomb or approbation. In his circles, he wants to be the picture on the wall that he was governor of Connecticut and he did this. It's a legacy thing. It's It's
funny that you mentioned that, because the person that I was talking to is also wealthy, right? Yeah. And when I said that to them, they didn't quite understand it. Like they understand that some of this is just a game. It's almost like a game. It is. Like, how much can I actually accumulate? How much power can I get? And maybe like guys like us, we don't understand that mindset of, okay, so I have seats at 8 rows up on the 47-yard line. Why are my seats not on the third row, 50-yard line, right? So we can't connect with that.
Well, and I think it comes down to, we've been used to service, where service to that.
Ask you a question in this. Good morning. Who's this? Something, and I forget that. Ask you a question in this. Good morning. Who's this?
Hey, Lee. This is Eric from the Annex.
Eric, you're on with Tony D.
All right. Hey, guys. You're doing a great job. They call them the upper crust for a reason. They're a bunch of crumbs that stick together.
Maybe.
It's incredible. I want to know. I really have a question. Why aren't these people doing the perform? Why aren't they going to the Great Bar Hotel, the orange jumpsuit?
It's a good question. It's what I was trying to get to with you, Tony. Why are we not more angry? Why are we not sort of pushing this
I
thing?
Can only give you my very limited experience being on the side of some federal cases. They move so slowly, but they move deliberately. Yeah. And I think that by the time they get to the game, they've got something open and shut. This is where my hope is and my faith is. I'm with Eric. I mean, like when do we get to the last reel on this movie? I fully agree.
Yeah, and the average person is busting their hump, trying to make ends meet, and these people, they're laughing all the way down to the bank. It's like, it's what George Carlin said, guys. Nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care.
Yep.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, pal. Have a good one.
Take care, Eric.
And I think he's right. I think that's sort of what it is. And that was where, in the beginning, when you started to talk about the governor and semaphore and some of the OKC, it was a lot of moving parts, and it was almost until you like sort of you started way out here, and my arms are spread out, and you sort of funneled it into where you really nailed them. But when it's way out here, Tony, people are like blah blah blah. They don't, you know what I mean? They look at gas prices and the price of milk and
well, sure.
You know what I mean? And I feel like now what you started has been more fine tuned, and people now can sort of understand what's going on. And this latest, bombshell that you dropped. So how long will it take the regular public to figure out this latest one? Right. So that's the next one. When will the current pick this up, or when will somebody else pick this up?
I don't know what kind of interference he's going to run with his spin machine, honestly, truthfully. But I'm going to bed last night, and actually I'm kind of shaking.
Yeah.
And I'm saying to myself, how does he survive this?
It's interesting. I got one other topic, and we'll take this call in 1 second. But so in another conversation I was having with a different person, and again, I can't say the name, and I apologize for that. I don't normally like to do that. But so this story, there was going to be a rebuttal to a story that was written about semaphore. When I say a rebuttal, a protection of the governor, okay? And then when more evidence was presented by someone who had already written something, they dropped the rebuttal story. In other words, somebody had written a piece hammering the governor. This newspaper, which I'll remain nameless for the time being, came back and said, we're going to rebut what you said, and here's what we're going to write. And then more information was given by the author to this particular publication, and they dropped it. So in other words, the governor made a phone call to this newspaper and said, help me out. And they did. until they were presented with more evidence and they couldn't anymore. So it's a big game going on, Tony, behind the scenes.
Well, it is, and I mean, it just becomes a question as to, you know, I'll continue to dance around the tables as long as the ketchup doesn't hit my shirt.
Let me grab one more quick one. We only got about a minute, but you're up. Who's this?
This is Art the hypnotist.
Hey, Art, how are you, pal? What's
Hi, Art.
going on? Good to hear from you.
Hey, you know, you have Tony on your show in the morning. You should have him on your the show when you do Way Down Ridge show, and let this become national.
I have. We have done that before.
You think Connecticut is the only state that have people doing stuff like this?
No, Art, I'm sure you're right.
We're going to come out with something next week, Art, that is going to be exactly to your point.
Yeah, because if your findings can inspire other people to bring out
Right.
what's happening in their states, we can open up a whole floodgate.
All right, brother. Thank you, Art.
Take care, Art.
Have a good one. And we've done that. We've done that before. We'll do it again for sure. All right, we got to run.